What's up, you guys? Zach Brunner here from Flurry Sports, and today we'll be talking about the fantasy football playoff strength of schedule for the running back position. We'll go over the 3 easiest schedules, the 3 toughest schedules for all of this data for every single position. Link in the description below to become a member. $5 per month, you get access to all of the data, which includes the weekly updated fantasy football playoff strength of schedule. If you want videos for the other positions, definitely like this video and subscribe, and I will be doing that for you. If you are a lock for your fantasy football playoffs, now is the time to maybe make some trades, especially with the trade deadline here this week or maybe next week for your league. If you have a player who has a tough schedule for the fantasy playoffs, maybe now's the time to sell high on them, and maybe there's a buy low opportunity for someone with a very easy schedule. There's no point in making the playoffs if you're not going to win a championship, so you are trying to look for the best matchups in those playoff weeks, and these videos will hopefully help you do that. So let's just jump into it. We will start with the 3 easiest running back schedules here. So if you get my weekly updated fantasy football playoff strength of schedule, you'll get this spreadsheet, or if you become a member, obviously you get this completely for free. You got the strength of schedule that's updated every single week, and you got the schedule down here. So we're talking about running backs today. Green is good, obviously, which means the number 1 fantasy football playoff schedule for running backs is the Arizona Cardinals. So more specifically, let's talk about Trey Benson. Trey Benson's owned in only 50% of ESPN fantasy leagues still. Obviously, he was put on IR, shut down for a while, but it sounds like he will be back very, very soon, probably next week. So this is a guy that's available in half the leagues. You don't even need to trade for them. So go ahead and pick up Trey Benson. I will probably be doing a video very soon talking about potential league winners for fantasy leagues, and I got to tell you, Trey Benson's going to be on there for me. I'm a big Trey Benson fan, and I am not a fan of this backfield at the current moment whatsoever. So with that being said, Trey Benson comes in. He is a strong running back. He can certainly make a lot of things happen. Over 4 yards per carry in every single game this season. He ran the ball very, very well before getting hurt. And on top of that, he's a dual threat, man. He can catch passes. He got at least 3 catches in each of the final 3 games that he played. So he had 4 for 30, 3 for 9, and then 5 for 19 before getting injured. I say that to say this running backfield right now, I mean, he hasn't been good whatsoever. He may come in and they'll ease him back in, right, coming off of IR. But once we get to that fantasy football playoff schedule, I mean, man, he may end up being the absolute bell cow for this backfield. He may be an every down guy. Arizona will play at Houston. We know we cannot pass against Houston, so he'll be running the ball there. He'll play home against the Atlanta Falcons, who just gave up that huge performance to Jonathan Taylor, obviously. And then fantasy football championship week, he plays at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals could not be worse against fantasy running backs. Look at this. So this is PPR, points per game. The Bengals average over a touchdown more than the second worst fantasy defense against running backs. It's pretty unbelievable. The Bengals are absolutely atrocious. They're getting worse as the trade deadline passes. They trade away players. And the best part about the Bengals, I've said this quite a bit throughout this fantasy season, not only is their defense absolutely embarrassingly bad, but their offense is very, very good. So that just creates fantasy football goodness, because that means offenses have to be aggressive against them. So if the Arizona Cardinals are going to win games, if they're going to move the ball, Trey Benson, I think, is going to be very, very involved. So the number 1 fantasy football playoff strength of schedule belongs to a man that you potentially could pick up right now. I would be trying to pick him up desperately over any handcuff, over any bench receiver. You know what I mean? Maybe you really believe in your wide receiver 5, and that's fine and dandy. Why wouldn't you pick up somebody who could be starting at your running back position in a couple of weeks? Absolutely go and do that. I figured it may be worth looking at a schedule leading up to the fantasy playoffs too, just in case it's an absolute shit show. But like I said, they play the 49ers this week, which he may not play. But it sounds like he'll be back for week 12, home against the Jaguars. I don't feel terrible about that. At Tampa, it's not terrible. And then home against the Rams. Rams are tough. We're not even going to pretend about that. The Rams are tough. But once you get to the fantasy playoffs, the second and third week especially. So if you have a first round bye in your fantasy playoffs, if you know you're not playing in week 15 anyway, like, holy shit, dude. Go and get Trey Benson for the Falcons and the Bengals. You will not regret it. The number two easiest fantasy football playoff strength of schedule belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles. So as disappointing as it may have been to be a Saquon Barkley fantasy owner throughout the season, there's a decent chance that he really pays off when the lights shine the brightest, right? The number two easiest schedule for Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles may be looking to fight for position, fight for that first round bye in the playoffs. So look for him to be aggressive. Philadelphia Eagles will end up playing the Las Vegas Raiders in the first round of the playoffs, at the Commanders, and then at the Bills, who you can absolutely run against. I love that. That's incredible. I mean, Saquon Barkley is an every down type of player. We know he's a game breaker, right? Like, he can perform against anybody. The issue for the Eagles so far this season has been that offensive line, which has been incredibly beat up. But against teams like the Raiders, the Commanders, and even the Bills, I don't think I could be less afraid whatsoever. Let's take a look and see who the Eagles play leading up to that. I mean, this week we got the Lions, but then we go at the Cowboys. I love that. Home against the Bears. I love that. At the Chargers. Chargers can be tough to pass against. I think you can run against them. And then we're in that fantasy playoffs. Raiders, Commanders, Bills. If for some reason you are in a league that makes bad decisions and plays in week 18, you won't get killed because you'll play the Commanders unless, of course, Eagles are resting their players. Like I said, it's been a little disappointing to be a Saquon owner so far this season. He is running back 11 on the year in terms of a points per game basis, down to 15.7 per game. But once the playoffs roll around, that schedule is shaping up to be very good for Saquon Barkley owners who took him early. Okay, last one we'll talk about. Number 3 fantasy football playoff strength of schedule. We're looking at Achane for the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are starting to win a couple games here. Maybe they shouldn't be doing that, but they are. And the big reason why they're winning games is Achane is going absolutely bananas. So the question is, should you sell high on Achane? I would say no, looking at this fantasy football playoff schedule here. The Miami Dolphins will play the Steelers. Not scary. The Bengals, we just talked about them. I absolutely love that. That should get you to your fantasy championship. And then the Buccaneers. I think you can run against the Buccaneers this year. They're not as scary as years past. So that is not bad whatsoever. Leading up to the fantasy playoff schedule here, we are looking at, Commanders this week. We got the Saints, then the Jets. Man, and the Jets just got a lot worse without Quinn Williams. And then Steelers, Bengals, Tampa. So absolutely love Achane for the rest of the season. And he's been great. Running back 3 overall. Look at these big weeks. He's been putting up 40. Hoofda. Hopefully you didn't have to play against that. The question is, if you don't have Achane, are you going to go trade for him? What are you going to do? How are you going to trade for somebody who has been that good? Again, I have a lot of data for you as members. So in the link in the description below, we got a membership. You can just pay $5 per month, get access to a group chat with me and all of the data, or you can go to the shop page and just buy something straight up. There, I have my trade value chart, which also is updated every single week. So I have rest of season rankings on FlurrySports.org. I have a trade value chart to help you pull off some of these trades and say, hey, which player should I trade to get Achane? Or maybe you trade one of these players who we're about to talk about with terrible playoff schedules. Never know, but that's someone I would certainly check on. But let's do that. Let's just flip this thing upside down and look at that. James Cook and the Buffalo Bills have the toughest fantasy football playoff strength of schedule for running backs. That sucks, man, because James Cook has been pretty incredible this season. He was certainly a letdown last week, but he has been very good. So maybe, you're someone sitting with James Cook, you're sitting in first place in your league, and maybe someone would call you crazy, but maybe you look to trade James Cook. Again, you're looking at the playoff strength of schedule. Let's take a look at who those teams are. It's at New England, at Cleveland, and then home against Philadelphia. James Cook's not a must trade. I'm not saying you have to get rid of him, but I think you're going to see worse than average performances against these 3 defenses. These are tough. These are defenses that are the absolute real deal. Let me take a look really quick at what James Cook did the last time that he ended up playing against the New England Patriots. I know it was not good. I think it was like 50 total yards. James Cook had 15 carries for 49 yards. He did not have a single catch. So 4.9 points in that game against the Patriots, and that was in Buffalo. He will be going to New England. Don't love that at all. So, you have James Cook. You're sitting in first place. You're sitting comfortable. Maybe James Cook is a guy you trade away. Maybe you look to get Devon Achane. You go James Cook straight up for Achane. Maybe you go James Cook and somebody else for Achane. I don't know. Whatever it takes to get him, whatever it takes to get some of these very good players. Maybe you trade James Cook for Trey Benson and an upgrade at wide receiver. Whatever you do. I mean, you're just trying to make your team better right now. I just noticed this is a little bit off center, so I'll just do this for you guys. But, that is a risky move to trade away someone who's been outstanding for fantasy, right? James Cook, running back 7. He's had some very big weeks. He's a little inconsistent with that 4.9, that 8.7, 10.7. But James Cook is most likely going to be having a good week coming up here. And it doesn't matter, man. It does not matter. There's no regular season championships. You're looking to win the playoffs. And James Cook, I don't know if he's going to help you do that. Next up, we got Jaylen Warren and I suppose Kenneth Gainwell for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the second toughest fantasy football playoff schedule. They will end up playing the Dolphins, which honestly, the Dolphins looks very easy, but they have been very good over the past 3 games. They are a top 10 run defense over the past 3 games, and that is while playing the Falcons, the Bills, and the Ravens. So they've played 3 of the best run offenses, and they have shut them down. I think 4 yards per carry. They've shut them down. So Miami is no longer a pushover up front, I would say. And then they go to Detroit, to Cleveland. So Jaylen Warren, if your trade deadline is this week, it complicates things. However, if your trade deadline is next week, let me show you this. I would absolutely love to be a Jaylen Warren owner right now because I think you could pull off a heist here. Take a look at the Steelers' schedule. This week we have the Bengals. Obviously, Jaylen Warren's about to go bananas. Last time he played the Bengals, take a look at that. So he has the Bengals here. Next week, Jaylen Warren has the Bears. That's another great matchup. He has the Bills after that. That's another great matchup. So if you are trading away Jaylen Warren, you're trading him away with good matchups on the horizon that fantasy owners will say, hey, that's good. He can help me out, especially if you're trading him to someone who needs to win every single week. Like, they need these weeks, man. That is valuable to them. But you're trading him before we get to Miami, before we get to Detroit and Cleveland. Because once we get to these weeks here, he may not be a help to us. He may hurt us quite a bit, and we need to win a championship. So sell high. Use him against the Bengals, get a good performance this week, and then sell his ass to somebody who is willing to buy him for above what he is actually worth. That's the strategy with Jaylen Warren. And then finally, this is where it gets a little bit spicy. What do we do? Detroit Lions have the 3rd toughest fantasy football strength of schedule in the playoffs for running backs. So Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, both great running backs. And again, this is not a must sell. At the Rams, home against the Steelers, at the Vikings. Okay. So we got a little bit of knowledge here. So the Rams are good. I'm afraid of the Rams. If I have a first round buy and can avoid the Rams, I am certainly feeling better about Jahmyr Gibbs, though. Quite a bit better. Because I'm not afraid of the Steelers. I think he can beat the Steelers. That's fine. I would love to avoid the Rams if I can help it. And then the Vikings are good, but let's take a look at what he just did against the Vikings. I actually don't fully remember, but this could potentially, I think he struggled, but this could potentially affect how we view this. So Jahmyr Gibbs had 9 carries for 25 yards. He had 3 catches for 3 yards. Dan Campbell calling plays now, so I can see more usage for him. But this was certainly very ineffective. This was at home, so he'll be going to Minnesota. So yeah, that strength of schedule is tough, man. It's tough in the first round. It's tough in the championship. And again, if you have balls of steel, if you want to make a big baller move that could potentially be what wins you a championship, this is not me saying you absolutely need to do this, but maybe you trade Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe you trade James Cook. Maybe you trade Jahmyr Gibbs. You trade them for another very, very good player who has a better playoff schedule, and maybe you can upgrade another position while you do that as well. You never know. But these are the moves that you make if you are operating at a higher level. You know what I mean? These are the moves that you make if you want to win a fantasy football championship. So if you are looking for a trade, definitely drop any trade questions down below. Let me know if you want any of these other positional videos as well. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Again, check out the link in the description if you want more data like this, updated fantasy football playoff strength of schedule data, updated every single week in there, along with my updated opportunity index every week, my updated trade value chart. You get access to a group chat with me. Anything else that you request as well, I will do that for you as members for sure. I want this to become the most valuable membership in the industry, all for $5 per month. I don't want you guys to break the bank, but I do want you to win a championship. But yeah, if you have any questions about fantasy football, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out. Goodbye.
Fuck yeah.